Something else. Manzo, is there a split in the opposition? Because there's a front page here that Raila party supported. Is there a split in the opposition right now? Is there an issue of succession there?
No, I don't think that is happening right now. What is happening is that political parties are registering members, and that's what ODM is doing. ODM is going through its strongholds, registering as many people as it can get to ODM. And similarly, that's what we're also doing as a coalition party. So we've not had a meeting whereby we have decided Raila and the ODM go this way, Kalonzo and the Wiper go this way. No. But your party leader as a coalition is still a coalition.
Your party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, is talking about being president. Eugene Wamalwa is talking about being president. Raila Odinga himself he says that it's no time for that conversation, but the truth is it's being had. We all know this. So is there a split?
No. You know, presidential candidature nomination, he has his own timeline, and there is a time it is done. And there's nothing wrong with anybody expressing their ambitions. There's nothing wrong with the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka's ambition or Eugene Wamalwa's ambition. Raila's ambition has not yet been communicated. It is we'll come to that particular point as a coalition and decide who is our flag bearer. I know some Kenyans really want to push us to identify that early enough, but it will have its own time.
Ekuru, are you seeing an open campaign now, season? In this country. In fact, is it even right that we're talking about this conversation? Who's succeeding who? And it is on both sides. We've had one of the most Kenya Kwanza side that Ndindi Nyoro needs to come in and the president downplaying that conversation.
It is one of the most disappointing things about the leadership in our country, that we never stop to campaign. You have a government that came on a lot of promises, and I'm sure Lotte will defend this government, and so will Ondieki. So many promises, but almost 1-2 years down the line, they are back on the campaign. Actually, in fact, they never stopped campaigning. William Ruto now, Rigathi Gachagua, Ndindi Nyoro, Mani Ichung'wah, you will see them on top of Kazias, like on the campaign. Meaning, confirming actually, they never even had any plan at all. Yeah. For example, when you talk about corruption, let me just raise one quick issue, Trevor. There is a very thorny issue in this country. You have a government that says, we will create jobs for Kenyans abroad. But I want to relate that to a practical problem. Passport, the acquisition of passport, which is a constitutional right prescribed in Article 12 of our Constitution. Today, a Kenyan will apply for a passport, pay 4,500 or 7,500, but they will be asked for a bribe. We will be told there are no booklets. Then why do you charge me the cost of producing that passport? While at the same time, you have a government that is promoting sending Kenyans abroad. How does a Kenyan go abroad if you cannot provide them with passports? How can a Kenyan go abroad to go look for that job when they are being told, Lipa, I think we can only produce, I think, 30 booklets per day? Honestly, this is not a serious government. Okay. And on the question of the opposition, I don't think we have opposition. We have a very compromised opposition. As a matter of fact, I mean, the truth be told, I know my hands will try to sugarcoat this, but these people are in government. In fact, the so-called Azimio was bought a long time ago by UDA, as early as February last year, actually. So in
this, you have evidence. You're the one who has evidence. On all allegations that you made.
Yes.
Who alleges?
Let me come back.
Let me tell you.
Let me weigh in on this point.
I can tell you one of the evidence.
He
the bogus bomber stocks. That was all just report. That was just narco report. That was just choreographed to manage the bases, so that the idea was that for us to be able to work together, we have to present to the nation something that looks plausible. Okay. And that's why even the outcome of that bomber stocks, and Manzo here will confirm.
Trevor.
Before I come to you, let's just get a direct response.
Have
you been bought by that?
What has happened with bomber stocks is that there's a report which is yet to be...
And that's where the split began.
There's a report which is going to be debated by the House. And you can see clearly every proposal from the bombers' proposals goes towards a referendum, that all those issues raised are referendable issues. And therefore, it will have to go back to the public through the proper channel.
So what about the cost of living? No, the cost of living.
Well, cost of living is one of the key issues. It can only be managed if the government agrees to reduce the cost of fuel. That is what is bringing all the problem with the high cost.
See, Trevor, that's where the lie is.
Bought.
Sorry?
Yes.
Has your coalition been bought?
It has.
Our coalition has not been bought.
Trevor, let me tell you.
Confirm.
You say it.
How much was it bought?
Today?
Yes.
They look both.
Yes.
Azimio is dead. We are only trying to look at a person that is dead, but putting on a face that looks like he's alive. Azimio is completely dead.
Was it bought? Was it bought?
What you've confirmed is that Azimio, there's something you said.
Trevor.
Just say what you said again. You said
let me say
Azimio
something.
was already taken in by UDA. Look at the Jubilee wing of the coalition.
Yes.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Look at the other wings of the coalition. They are all gone. They were not bought. They just decided because they look at an unfortunate situation within the Azimio. I was part of the Azimio. This was an unfortunate situation. You can already see that they are dead.
So you are bought?
They are fighting. No, I was not bought. I looked at the unfortunate situation of the coalition. And I decided, just like the other colleagues, let's go to the fortunate situation. It is not because of the fact that we are bought. It is the fact that Azimio was going to die and Azimio is dead as we speak today. They do not read from the same page. They are only sugarcoating, and Kenyans will very soon see that we are dealing with an Azimio that's dead.
So at the time you were leaving, what made you leave?
I left because Azimio was not organized as an opposition. Because basically you will hear today, even when sitting in this debate, the real role of an opposition is to keep the government in check. But if you listen to Azimio properly, what they are doing is they're trying to play politics of 2027. And the reason why they are splitting, they are not keeping the government on check. They are looking at who is going to become the presidential candidate. And because the opposition cannot do its role, I decided, then let me join the government that is doing its role in delivering to Kenyans what we are saying.
Let me remind these guys. We used to back in high school. You know, I don't know. We used to read a book called Things Fall Apart.
Yeah.
Chinua Achebe in Things Fall Apart says, you know, a toad does not run in broad daylight for no reason at all.
Yeah.
There's a very reason why Mheshimiwa Lote here left Azimio. There's every reason why Ondieki, and I'm happy that he'll respond immediately, is busy organizing Southern Nyanza for UDA.
Trevor, let me tell you.
Is
for me, I don't like being philosophical, but sometimes I'm forced to, especially when you see people who pretend to be in love with facts. I'm not even in love with them after all. Dr. Kurokot claims to be in love with facts when those pieces of facts favor him.
I don't claim I am.
And when he makes an allegation, and he's the one who said, he who alleges has a duty to prove, and he alleges that Azimio has been bought, and he cannot prove it. So it is just a matter of pinky-ponky game, which was said by that person, that viewer. I want to respond on something. The truth is that Azimio is finished. That is why you will see ODM are busy on their own. Wiper is busy doing nothing as we speak. In fact, they are not having membership drive. They are not having anything. NAC Kenya is not doing anything. In fact, it's only ODM. And that ODM is only busy because of one reason. And let me make it clear on this national TV. ODM is only busy because they have realized that the little zones they have has already been taken, or is seriously and quickly being taken over by UDA. And so that's why they went back to the membership drive. I'm speaking the truth. This is a fact which I can prove with timelines, because when there was serious membership drive of UDA in Nyanza region, that is when they came back and started. In fact, the first time I saw Raila Odinga pointing a tablet on how to become a member of ODM, because they presumed that once a Luo, a member of ODM. So they realized that the Luos are waking up and there's a serious paradigm shift. And so they have gone back to protect the little which they have, because they have already lost a lot that they don't even want to lose the little Nyanza as well. So that's the big problem. It's not that they are keeping the government in check. Finally on that, we have an opposition which is clueless, planless, visionless.
Just like the government.
They don't have anything.
Just like the government.
When you see, when you're looking at, when you're telling somebody that you are blind, and you are terribly blind, like the opposition, they can't, that's why they keep on running after the government. They look at what the government has said, tomorrow they respond. They can never say anything before it happens. They are talking about G&G today because the government has talked about it. They are talking about everything only when it has happened. They are talking about a meeting when the meeting has happened in State House. They only, I don't know, they act after. They are never proactive. Yeah. So this is an opposition which is finished. In fact, as the president said in his speech of the State of the Nation, the opposition which has no any proposal. The other time they called for talks in Bomas. Actually, they proposed nothing, only to come out of that place complaining and fighting themselves. In fact, they are more divided than even the opposition is divided from the government.
That you raised the G2G issue, because what it was supposed to do was to stabilize the Kenya shilling.
Exactly.
We are seeing here that what shillings mean.
It's very sensible.
That a straight up failure.
No, failure.
It is not a failure. In fact, opposition like the Third Way Alliance,
something that has failed.
The Third Way Alliance, being an opposition, just as Azimio, they will only talk about its failure. They don't look at how it was to help the country and why the president,
considering that the shilling is,
Trevor,
it was to stabilize the Kenyan shilling.
Let's remind him of
stabilize the shilling.
Yeah, in fact, I responded based on the question as to the existence or non-existence of the opposition. In fact, this one is the same. In fact, Third Way Allowance is the same as
allowance. No. You see what people view here? They're just based on, they're used to allowances.
There's nothing that...
But listen, let me remind him a fact. They're just the same. Let me remind him a fact.
Yeah.
In 2022, on the campaign trail, President William Ruto said that he will reduce the dollar, I mean the relationship between the dollar and the to about, he will stabilize it.
Yeah.
It keeps on going. In fact, if you see now the projection now that the dollar will be at about 230 to the shilling. 236 Kenya shillings to the dollar even by next year. There is no communication whatsoever about how this dollar is actually being stabilized. And you know, Trevor, we have said before here, and I think I want to quote the senator for Nairobi, Honorable Edwin Sifuna.
Yeah.
Whenever we came here to discuss the state of the nation, Sifuna has always said, and I think this is wisdom, that the state of the nation is about the state of the people, the individual. Mwanzo here will tell you, and even Ondieki, and okay, all of us who have that experience, when a Kenyan asks you, just give me 500 shillings, and for basic needs. Basic needs. Nobody's asking you, give me 1,000 shillings because I want to go and drink some changa or rubusa or whatever. They ask you for 500 bob, 1,000 to buy food, to buy medicine. Basic things that actually enhance dignity of a human being. You can't tell me in a country like that where the state of the person is so dire, is based on big, small things, that the economy is stable. Okay. It's not.
All right. Lotte, is this an indication of a failure of the government to stabilize the economy? Free fall of the shilling.
One, let's look at the factors that has actually brought the free fall of the shilling before we say whether it's a failure or not. But I'll tell you, it is not the failure. It is the global view. I've actually been looking at the African currencies vis-a-vis the dollar. In 2023, Kenya is not even beaten like many other African countries. Kenya is beaten at around 27% of the decline. But if you go to countries, some West African countries, you get them falling, the dollar falling by up to 54%. That basically means it's a global event. But before I go that, Trevor, there is something that had been given as an assignment. Because I was told that I need to say this communique, if you can allow me a little bit, so that it goes into record. I'll come back to that.
I'd like to know where
no, it's good. This communique was actually done on the 20th.
Can we verify this?
Yeah, it is.
Signed by who?
It is signed by Hussein Mohammed, MBS State House spokesman.
Okay.
And this is what it says.
I thought it should have been signed by the president and the
No, that is the spokesman. That is the reason why we've got systems in government.
You asked
not
him
the president to sign.
Okay,
asked me to read. And it should not be the president to sign.
Please do.
Well, it says today, at the request of the judiciary, the president convened leadership of the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Then it goes on like that. But these are the points. It was agreed that, one, corruption remained as an essential threat to the nation, which has permeated the three arms of government, undermining our country. Okay, let me do that in
technology.
Quickly. No, it is. Undermining, permeated the three arms of government, undermining our country's tremendous development potential and sabotaging the much-needed transformation in our nation. That is one thing. And one of the reasons why we even talk about the shilling falling is because there are people corrupt who are holding dollars. Yeah, that is one. And so when we are addressing corruption, we are also addressing the stabilization of our shilling. 2, each of the 3 arms of government commits to enhance service delivery, fight corruption, and promote the overall administrative justice to enhance accountability of the people of Kenya.
Yes.
3, the executive, legislature, and the judiciary agree to individually develop policies, guidelines, regulations, and legislative proposals to achieve this objective. Let me not read the whole of it.
True.
And 4, within 30 days, each arm of government will submit the proposal made to a forum of the National Council of the Administrative Justice, convened by our leadership, the Chief Justice. The forum will provide a roadmap for immediate, mid-term, and long-term measures to be undertaken.
Yeah.
5, optimize the efficiency of service delivery and to fight against corruption. The executive and the legislature will support the judiciary with the request additional budget to support the achievement, among others, 1, to facilitate the recruitment of 25 judges of the High Court, 2, to facilitate the recruitment of 11 new judges of the Court of Appeal, and 3, resources will also be provided to conclude the FECO leasing program to facilitate the judiciary transport needs. And 6, the executive, legislature, and judiciary commit to perform their function in a manner that respects, promotes, and enhances the rule of law, institutional, independent, and the respect of court decisions.
Yes.
Very important.
That's
very, very important. And so that basically tells you that there's a document you are not aware. I'll share it to you.
No, this was shared.
It is a document.
You are aware of this. This was shared.
If you are aware,
not news.
If it's not news, you are telling us you are the ones.
Still on the Hussein Mohammed.
You are the ones that are telling us that it is not made public. Now you're saying
Trevor,
it is shared.
can I raise a very fundamental question?
Why are you trying?
Let me raise a very fundamental question related to the dollar and the Kenya shilling. You see. In some countries where economy of a country can collapse is because of introducing double currency. I'm not an economist, but I will tell you our preoccupation to discuss the dollar as opposed to the Kenya shilling, which is, we are a shilling economy, we're not a dollar economy. And these excuses of, oh, it's global, this global, that other countries are handling their economic situation, differently from ours. And the more we keep on, comparing ourselves with, Americas, with the other countries, the more we are admitting we are not able to fix our own problem. Remember, this is a government, and okay, I don't think Lotte was initially connected to it, but I think he has jumped camp now, that, this is a government that actually came with a plan. And I've said it in this show a couple of times.
And it still has a plan.
Hopefully, I hope so.
The plan is still alive.
I hope it is there. But this is a government led by one person who I've said repeatedly is the longest serving elected politician in this country. From 1997, William Ruto has never lost an election.
Sure.
He's the longest. Meaning, and he has also held very key positions in government. He has been a deputy president of this country for 10 years in what they are now vilifying as a failed Jubilee administration, yet they were there. So they really ought to know exactly where the problem in this country is. And with the benefit of doubt, we gave it to them. But now to keep on coming telling us, or compare ourselves with country X, Kenya, honestly, is unfortunate. We are increasingly being disrespected even in the region. By the time Sudan withdraws its envoy, DRC Congo, Uganda takes us to the East African Court. And I was in Burundi last December in the East African Law Society conference. And on the side shows, people are saying, what's wrong with you Kenyans? You've lost the plot. The truth for the matter, we can pretend about it. Tanzania has no respect for us. Other countries in the region do not respect us anymore. It's because of the kind of leadership that we have. So I think the sooner, and I want to agree with what Maanzo said, there's nothing wrong with apologizing that you misled Kenyans, or saying at least we made a mistake. We can recalibrate ourselves, our plan, and say, okay, I think we thought we will do A, B, C, D, but now I think we can change course. Only a fool doesn't change his mind.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
And this thing's insistence on that we are on the right path.
Yeah.
We are doing this. And the politics, we are just politicking too much than actually addressing the problems that Kenyans are facing.
Okay. Manzo, is this an indication of a failed state, or is this global pressures like what Lotte is saying?
It's not really a matter of global pressure. The cost of fuel has gone down all over. In Germany, it's stabilized. In Rwanda, is 199 Kenyan shillings. It's never gone beyond that. So what has happened is we have disorganized ourselves and blamed others. We had the G2G, which failed. You know, they thought fuel prices would be stabilized by that government-to-government deal, which was not well calculated. And again, as I've said before, if something has gone wrong and there was miscalculation or misadvice, let's own it so that we can correct it and move to the next level. So there is a lot of things going wrong in the country, a lot of corruption. A few individuals have been prosecuted, but quite a number of people who have acquired the property corruptly have not owned up or have not returned it to the state. So we have an internal problem, and most of it is politicking, overdoing politics, weakening government institutions, the judiciary, parliament, and the executive itself. Government institutions should remain very strong. The parliament should remain with its independence, judiciary the same, and then we should respect decisions which come from the courts. And if you are not happy with the decision, then quickly appeal. If you are unhappy with a judge, don't just make, sweeping statements. Yeah. Deal with that particular judge individually.
Okay. There's something I want us to talk about before we wind up on this conversation, unless there's something you want to bring up.
Well, I think one of the things I wanted to say, I wanted to say something about the falling shilling, but also to correct two things. We can never pretend to say that we are not global in terms of our trade. We are trading. And the global currency now is the dollar. And the reason why Chinese were trying to ensure that they are also having their yen to become a global currency. But as we speak now, just to tell
Japan doesn't trade with the dollar.
Yeah, they never.
Germany doesn't trade with the dollar. The UK doesn't trade with the dollar.
Now, Trevor, are they saying that Kenya should not trade in dollar?
Let me say something. Because when you go globally, you don't take your Kenyan shillings.
No, but
the respected currency out there. Global. And the reason why the president himself said, let us change our... Actually, the president said what you said. You're actually picking from him. That let us change the dollar economy so that we can start speaking about another currency. The president said that. That basically means he's ahead of you. He
doesn't practice
in terms, he's ahead of you in terms of that. He cannot just wake up. He cannot just wake up and start doing that.
He preaches water but drinks wine.
Give me your quote. Dr.
I should correct.
Let me say something.
The president wanted an African dollar.
When I speak, these people are pricked. When I speak, you are pricked. The thing is, we have to say that we think that's the discussions for tomorrow.
Yeah.
The dollar is exactly what we are using to exchange. And I told you, I have actually been comparing African countries vis-a-vis the dollar in 2023. And Kenya is not as badly beaten like many other countries. Those countries are not fools to also trade on the dollar, because when they are buying, they are importing. They are actually using the dollar. And the reason why, there is a lot of demand for the dollar. And I want to say, when you look at what the ODM chair, Mbadi said, he said, it is because of the demands of the dollar. The dollar is being demanded. Let me just say, let me speak. Yeah. Manzo said, fuel in Rwanda is, I have got a picture. I was in Rwanda in December. Yeah. And good enough, this is it for Kenyans to see. This is a petrol station in Rwanda called Kabiza. It was going at 1639 diesel, premium, and diesel is 1635. Do that to Kenya shillings. It is 235. 235. Get an exchange. Get. Okay, good.
That time.
Get it. I was in Rwanda. It is important that I took that photograph. I was in Uganda. I was in Uganda in Mbale in October. I also got a photograph of the same. You can take it and let Kenyans see. The fuel in Uganda at an exchange rate of 25 is actually going at 127, when Kenya is going at 227, when Kenya is going at 211. So to tell people that fuel in Rwanda, when I've got a picture of a petrol station here, is wrong.
What exchange rate are you using?
What exchange rate?
Get it,
Trevor, I wanted to weigh in on this dollar thing.
I've not finished.
Exchange rate is daily.
I've got evidence.
You know, when I look at my comments here, everybody's saying Mweshime is just lying.
No, I'm not lying. Those are people. Okay. I have got evidence. Facts are stubborn. And the fact is there.
Lotte, just a simple question.
Yes.
Is the Rwandese franc stronger than the Kenya shilling?
No. it is not.
So if it's 16 shillings...
It is 16. It is 1,637.
Okay.
Yes.
Current exchange.
Trevor, I wanted to weigh in on this dollar question.
Yes.
I am also not an economist, but I have done a little of economics. One, if you are trading on dollar, it will fluctuate depending on the global fluctuation. Just like when you want to fly any airline, it will always depend on timing. If you want to fly to Kisumu, you may buy your ticket in the morning, someone buys it mid-morning, the prices will be different. The problem is demand on dollar. And when there's high demand on dollar, it causes pressure on it. And when that pressure is high, it is affected in terms of the rates. Number two, there's international lending rates, and also the percentiles which are given in terms of the dollar operations. They are affected, and Kenya cannot be excluded. I want to make my seniors, I respect the seniors, but also I wish just they could be honest opposition. You see, if you're a honest opposition, it's not only poking holes. There are certain things, Mbadi talked about it, and for the first time I can say Honorable John Mbadi spoke the truth as per what is happening, that the dollar situation in the country can only change if we increase our export production so that we can stabilize our dollar. And that is what the president is talking about, production aggregation zones, so that we can have a lot of EPZs to make production, so that we can sell more than we buy. Okay. So the most important thing...
I have a question for these UDA fellows.
Let me just conclude with this so that we can go into another matter. That the government is trying to stabilize dollar. The only challenge is this. There are people who are holding dollar. And I think the people who are shouting too much about the dollar problem are keeping it, are holding it.
Okay.
Are holding it. And that's a fact. Right. We are only waiting for central bank to report to us who are these fellows who are holding dollar. But if they can release it, it will come back to the market. Demand will be low, just in the principle of demand and supply.
I think this is because of holding. Okay, let me bring Lotte on one thing. Lotte, how much was that money for Rwandese franc?
I'm actually getting...
the picture?
This picture was 1,637.
1,637.
Yes.
The current exchange rate is 7 shillings.
It is exchange rate of that particular day.
233.
Yes, 233.
But the exchange rate differs every day.
Tell him. 233 now. And then let me tell you now. Okay, let me come back.
I had a question.
Now that you have proved
I want you to answer
233. 233 in Rwanda is not cheaper than in Kenya. Like what the senator said. So it is globally. It is globally. I can prove it. It is here. You can take it as a photograph that I took it myself.
Are you saying Kenya's economy, you want to compare Kenya's economy and...
We are not comparing Kenyan economy to Rwanda. I'm actually proving a fact.
But they have been saying that fuel is cheaper in those countries. And they are being told the fuel is expensive.
Proof now that fuel is not cheaper in Rwanda, like they're saying. The same to Uganda. I can prove to you. I took a photograph of the same.
Is a question.
The picture was taken in December 11th.
Okay, now
the one that I took
the exchange rate changes every day.
Okay,
I know. Even that time it was worse because I did the exchange rate myself.
I have a question.
All right, yes.
Now,
Lotte, I have a question for you and Ondieki. The closest I came to agreeing with William Ruto when he speaks about the shilling vis-a-vis the dollar was when he made this speech. I don't know. I'm trying to remember whether it was in the either UN or wherever it was anyway. And he said that we need to rethink about the idea of us trading with the dollar. Why can't we strengthen our own local currencies?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, a lot of African countries and people all bought into that idea. And actually, they have bought into the idea because they began to see our president as a Pan-Africanist who really wants to strengthen the use of our local currencies. But the question I want to ask you, after that speech, which was very, promissory, but of course we are not surprised with your promises because you always give promises which you never fulfill anyway. After that very promising speech, what steps can you say the government has since taken to ensure that we strengthen the Kenya shilling and reduce the talk about the dollar as if the dollar is our currency? It's not our currency. The ordinary Kenyan does not deal in dollars. You know, when you're talking about global trading, how many people really in this country can say globally trade? we still have a situation where I bank in Kenya shillings, but if you say I want to buy a spare part for my car, I'm being charged in dollars. How is government cushioning me from that kind of expense? And this is a policy decision, Mheshimiwa Lote. So it's not just enough to tell us that, oh, the global this and global. Tell us the steps that the government has since taken to ensure that you pursue that pronouncement that we need to strengthen our shillings, we need to trade in our shillings.
Okay.
Even
I can take it quickly before Lote comes in.
The proposal was an African shilling or an African currency, like European currency, you know, the euro.
The euro, as the number of countries, yes.
Yeah, he was thinking of, in terms of having an African currency.
Yes.
Like an African shilling or something like that. Or come up with a name.
But now the question, Manzo,
is it fair to place that on the president's doorstep, considering
it's not fair.
He's the one who began with, he's the one who started it.
If we're going to go African, that is now, we're talking about an entire continent.
Yes.
His pronouncements.
Before
is it fair?
After visiting Germany,
has to be bilateral.
After visiting Germany, he was advised one of the things you could do as Africans is to come up with our own currency, like the union. Like the European Union with a European currency.
What I'm saying is it fair to blame President William Ruto?
That's why I want to...
The question is, what has he done to even for the shilling or even to arrive at that African currency?
Okay.
That's
what I'm saying. I need them to explain because they are these are government standards. I want them to say to us, after that pronouncement, as the president even held, say, bilateral meetings, say, with the neighbors, other countries, and say, okay, guys, I think we are thinking about strengthening the African, you know. You see, like the way, let me just draw a parallel, Like if you look at the coup d'etats in West Africa, Francophone Africa, look at Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and the rest. I like the language that's coming from them. Not that I like idea of coups, but I like the language that's coming from them. They are talking about ending imperialism, exporting our natural resources out, Africa's natural resources outside. They're talking about the unity of Africa. So I want to say, on the same note, when the president made this very flowery and very, interesting statement, has he taken any steps?
Trevor. Let me. But you are asking the question too long. That it doesn't even get into answer.
I'm giving you latitude.
What I'm saying, the truth of the matter, Trevor, it has to be known. And Kenyans on this national platform should know that as of December last year, comparatively, in 3 countries of Eastern Africa, Rwanda fuel was 233, as you have calculated. Kenya was 211. It has now reduced. Kenya has reduced. Uganda is 227. I don't know whether it has reduced. So that is comparative study. Someone can do. And I would also advise our media houses, why can't you just take a walk? You can sponsor someone to go to all Africa, to check dollar in West Africa, to check dollar in everywhere, and then check fuel in all those places so that we can confirm what Raila Odinga said on 22nd of July 2022, when he was flagged with Martha Karua. When he was asked about the cost of living, he said that is a global problem and cannot be solved as an individual state. So you will realize that is actually global. But as to the dollar question, the president is struggling to ensure that it stabilizes our economy by ensuring production. That's why there's establishment of EPZs, aggregation zones. We want to boost production so that we can sell more in exports than to receive more on imports. Dr. Okot was talking about
anything in this country.
Dr. Okot was talking about Kenyan who is trading on 500 shillings, Kenya shillings. He will buy a mtumba. That Kenyan will buy a mtumba at 250 shillings, and that mtumba has been imported. If we can control and reduce the cost of such importation so that Kenyans can buy local in that which will have very little duty without importation costs, then we are going to stabilize our economy.
Not when you are overtaxing Kenyans.
Yes.
Okay. Not when you are overtaxing Kenyans.
The tax in Kenya is even less than several
states. We're running out of time here, but I want us to talk about one more topic here. Well, there's a report from the Public Service Commission continuing to display evidence